Good morning and welcome to the DFL Daily. Richard Carlbaum here, chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Great to be with you today. Boy, a lot has happened in the last 3 days. It seems like 10 years, but let's dive into a recap and talk about where we're at today and where we're going to be at 1 week from today. Two very important topics. So first off, obviously, we've all been tracking the Trump administration's retribution campaign against Minnesota. And the result is chaos, harassment, violence, the detention of families and children, and the ICE killings of observers Renee Good and Alex Preti. Minnesotans have met this moment. I couldn't be more proud of our state. This is a moment we never should have had to face, but we met it with courage and strength, resolve, and focus. And we're keeping that up. I shared yesterday that we're starting to see cracks in the Trump strategy, and more are on the way. First off, Greg Bovino is leaving Minnesota today. Thank goodness. He has been removed from all his positions as a Border Patrol commander at large and is expected to retire soon. He'll be replaced by Border Czar Tom Homan. Yesterday, Trump agreed to have calls with Governor Walz and Mayor Fry. The governor posted, quote, "I had a productive call with President Trump. I told him that we need impartial investigations of the Minneapolis shootings involving federal agents, and we need to reduce the number of federal agents in Minnesota." Trump cooled his rhetoric on a post on Truth Social shortly after the call. Also, just today, chief federal judge in Minnesota has ordered the head of ICE to appeal personally in court on Friday and threatened him with contempt, adding, quote, "The court's patience is at an end." Republicans are in a growing PR crisis. They're getting desperate, and DFLers, we are going to keep applying steady pressure. We are not letting up now. Yesterday, Attorney General Keith Ellison argued against Trump's federal government in court to end Operation Metro Surge. The lawsuit seeks to stop the unprecedented surge of thousands of armed federal agents into Minnesota communities and declare those actions unconstitutional and unlawful. The First and 10th Amendments are being violated by Trump's DHS, and they are targeting Minnesota because of who we are, how we vote, and because they see our leaders as political opponents. Don't take my word for it. Donald Trump said it himself, that this is a campaign of retribution. The rule of law matters. When federal agencies overstep their constitutional authority, state leaders have a responsibility to respond through the courts. That's what democracy looks like. When federal agencies overstep their constitutional authority, we should have a Congress that holds them accountable with oversight. But of course, Republicans in Congress have completely abdicated any responsibility. And the 4 Republican members of Congress from Minnesota, Tom Emmer, Pete Stauber, Michelle Fischbach, and Brad Finstad, when given a chance to stand with Minnesota or stand with Donald Trump, have stood with Donald Trump every step of the way. Thankfully, Attorney General Keith Ellison is standing shoulder to shoulder with Minnesotans, using the legal tools at his disposal to protect our communities and our Constitution. We hope that in the case State of Minnesota versus Kristi Noem, the court sides with Minnesota as well. As our Attorney General defends Minnesota in court, the Trump administration recently launched what can only be described as politically motivated investigations against our elected leaders. We've all seen that news last week. But like most of the president's plans, there are holes in these investigations as well. Career federal prosecutors are calling this out for what it is. In yesterday's Star Tribune, they published a commentary stating, quote, "When federal officials and attorneys manipulate the Department of Justice to retaliate against political opponents, which they have done repeatedly, they corrupt the very institutions established to safeguard our rights as citizens. Everyone should be concerned by this. Weaponizing the justice system against our political opponents is not law enforcement. It's authoritarianism. And Minnesotans, indeed the rest of America, can see that difference. As Governor Walz pointed out, while they investigate him and Mayor Fry for speaking out, the only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. That tells you everything you need to know about what the Republican priorities are. So that brings us to next Tuesday. February 3rd, we are going to do precinct caucus night in Minnesota in this state. It's the most important way each of us can safeguard democracy right now. Participating in those precinct caucus, showing up in strong numbers, and making sure that we begin the process of selecting our candidates who are going to be elected in November of this year. Just as attending protests show resistance to ICE, caucusing shows resistance to the Trump administration's authoritarian tactics. Every person who walks through the door on caucus night is making a statement. We will not be intimidated, will not be silenced. We will organize, we will participate, and we will defend our democracy. Now, I just want to say very plainly, and we talked about this last week, there are a number of people in our community who don't feel like it's safe to leave their home. And so there are a lot of people in our community who won't be able to walk through that door on precinct caucus night because of the fear and intimidation of Donald Trump's retribution campaign that is impacting the lives of Minnesotans. We have non-attendee forms, and if you don't feel comfortable coming on precinct caucus night, we hope and strongly encourage you to fill out one of the non-attendee forms. And further, we're encouraging our precinct caucus conveners to make sure that those people who can't come on Tuesday next week can still be elected delegates to their organizing unit conventions so that they can continue to have a voice in this process. Caucusing right now in this moment is how we have to answer them being Republicans who are trying to wage this retribution campaign. When we come together on February 3rd, we're not just selecting delegates or discussing resolutions. We're building the anti-authoritarian political power that will be necessary to resist federal overreach over the next 4 years and beyond. This is how we translate the momentum we built through protest and legal actions into durable, lasting political power. Caucuses are 1 week from today. We want record-setting attendance, and we want to send a clear message to the complicit Republican elected official establishment that Minnesotans have had enough. We're going to stand with one another while they continue to stand with Donald Trump. We need DFLers to show up and make their voices heard against Donald Trump and his enablers like Brad Finstad, Tom Emmer, Michelle Fischbach, and Pete Stauber, and the entire Republican gubernatorial slate all the way to the candidates for each House and Senate district. They're all standing with Donald Trump, and they're not standing with Minnesota. On precinct caucus night, Minnesotans will stand together. This is the most immediate, impactful action any Minnesotan can take right now. So our call to action. A large caucus is how democracy functions under pressure. Let's have massive caucus turnout 1 week from today. When authoritarian forces try to intimidate and silence us, we respond with visible strength. We will not cower. We will not go home. We will show up, just as we've shown up to protest peacefully and in large numbers, even in the face of threats. When Governor Walz speaks up for impartial investigation, Attorney General Ellison files lawsuits to defend the Constitution, when career federal prosecutors speak out against political prosecutions, and when thousands of Minnesotans caucus on February 3rd, we're all doing the same thing, safeguarding democracy. So we'll see you on caucus night 1 week from today, Tuesday, February 3rd. All right, real quickly, we have some events that I want to highlight. First off, help us recruit for caucuses with virtual phone banks in Buffalo and St. Cloud tonight at 6 p.m. We're also having a training for volunteer lawyers who will keep caucuses safe tonight at 7 p.m. Coffee and conversations are going on in Isani and Duluth on Wednesday morning. The DFL has also set up more constitutional observer trainings due to high demand. One is on Wednesday at 7 p.m. and one Sunday at 6 p.m. We've had over 6,500 people trained so far, and we need more. You can sign up or spread the word too at dfl.org/observers. Spend this week making our caucus safer, larger, and louder. Go to dfl.org/events to join us. You can always find these on Mobilize, and please plug them into the comments so we can highlight them tomorrow on the DFL Daily. All right, folks, 280 days until the November 2026 elections and 7 days until caucus night in Minnesota. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow. Let's go win this thing.